Welcome back. It is Eric Erickson here in for Mark Aram today. Joining me, because it's a Wednesday, is Mark's and my buddy Stephen Lawson, who happens to be in studio while I'm remote. So, Stephen, thanks for being with me.
Eric, great to be here with you. And what a nice change on a Wednesday. I won't tell Mark that I like you better.
Oh, well, yeah, don't tell him that. Poor guy under the weather. So let's talk about Georgia politics, because I was a mutual friend, I shall say, texted me earlier that he kind of agreed with my assessment here that the Democrats don't have a deep bench for governor. They're so hungry for a win that they may put aside their distrust of a turncoat and side with someone like Jeff Duncan just because they want the governor's mansion and by any means necessary.
As crazy as that sounds, that scenario that you just laid out, Eric, that's Georgia Democrats in a nutshell right now. They are certainly at a crossroads. Obviously, as our listeners know, having lost the governor's race twice at the hands of Brian Kemp now, they are in the wilderness, truly, in Georgia. It is a free-for-all right now on the Democrat side for governor. You have former Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, State Senator Jason Estevez, former DeKalb CEO Michael Thurmond, and now comes Jeff Duncan, the GOP 2.0 ilk, who tried to make a name for himself selling books and peddling this GOP 2.0 theory. That didn't go well. So he decided then to endorse Joe Biden and talk about how great of a debate performance he had even after that, and then went on to endorse Kamala Harris, and now has come full circle, claiming to be a Democrat and running for governor in Georgia. And the crazy thing is that he may be successful because of the disarray and the dysfunction in the Democrat Party in Georgia.
Yeah, it's funny. I've got a longtime friend from CNN on the Democratic side who said it was just always odd having Duncan on TV trying to find his place, and ultimately at one point he got really like petty with Scott Jennings at one point, very personal insults, just trying to figure out where to I guess find himself in this space, and it's just wild to suddenly find himself running for governor as a Democrat. In the state of Georgia, having done the GOP 2.0, trying to sell books and all that. It's just, and again, the Democrats want to win more than they want purity at this point of the state. So he may be the guy they decide to try to carry him out of the wilderness. And you have this nasty split on the GOP side where you've got Carr, Raffensperger, and Jones who going to throw a lot of dirt at each other and try to beat each other up. But my suspicion is you still may have more GOP consolidation on their side once you get into a general election with some of the more progressive Democrats of the state not sure they can trust a guy like Duncan.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be fascinating. And to your point, really, that is the crux of the dynamic on the Democrat side. You have more traditional, well-known Democrats, again, in Keisha Lance Bottoms and Jason Estevez, and someone like Michael Thurmond. But I think that there are a lot of Democrats out there, particularly national Democrats, that are looking around saying, look, if those people cannot raise the money, if they cannot raise the resources to be able to compete, do we give someone like Jeff Duncan a chance? Obviously, there's a lot of ifs in that scenario, right? If the Democrat base in Georgia can trust someone who voted for the heartbeat bill, if they can trust someone who was supportive of a number of GOP measures, right? And then how do his opponents use that against them? The ultimate question, Eric, that I know you and I have discussed, Mark and I have discussed, is again this specter of Stacey Abrams that looms so large over that field. This is someone, again, we've talked about how big Jeff Duncan's ego is. I think Stacey Abrams' ego is a rival certainly to that. And does she allow Jeff Duncan to come in and try to take this mantle? Because at the end of the day, she could wait, given her name ID and fundraising capabilities, right until the last minute before qualifying to rain down on this parade and just sow more chaos into this field. So it's going to be really interesting to watch.
Yeah, and you bring up the fetal heartbeat legislation because he was lieutenant governor at the time and shepherded it through, and that just seems like it could be an unforgivable sin for the Democrats.
It totally could, and his he's been certainly asked about that since his entrance into the race, and his convenient talking point is, "I got it wrong," which prompts
Right.
the follow up. Well, why are you just now saying this? All of the obvious questions that come along with this vanity project that is Jeff Duncan's run as a Democrat for governor.
So now let's jump into the lieutenant governor's race because my buddy Greg Dolezal has jumped into this race. I remember when he ran for the state senate, I was one of the guys who came out and endorsed him and campaigned with him, and he's just a great guy. And this is a race I got to stay out of because, like, one of my longtime great friends, John Kennedy, is in there. I'm friends with Greg Dolezal. Blake Tillery's in there. You've got like half the state senate now running for lieutenant governor, it seems like.
You do. Lot of great candidates, certainly across the board. You mentioned a few of them. State Senator Steve Gooch is also running. But yeah, look, I think Senator Greg Dolezal is certainly going to be a force to be reckoned with, right? This is someone who has built a name for himself as sort of somebody who has delivered results in the state Senate. When you think about Eric, the school choice measure that was that he shepherded through, that was huge. This transformative school choice bill that's now in our state, the Georgia Promise Scholarship Act, which gives parents the choice to decide what's the best course of action for their children. When you talk about the Riley Gaines Act, that keeps boys out of girls' sports, that was passed last year, certainly had support from the Speaker of the House as well. When you talk about his efforts to really go after Fonnie Willis for some probably clear conflicts of interest in her role going against Donald Trump. So a lot of conservative issues that he's been on the forefront on, I think that's going to help him in his campaign. And it's going to be really interesting to see. I think that will be a race that will be very hotly contested and a lot of late deciders next May. But certainly there's going to be no lack of fireworks in that one.
Well, and lastly, let's get into the John Ossoff situation because he's the most endangered Democrat according to the Cook Political Index in the Senate. You've got a government shutdown now where the Democrats have decided to shut down the government. They say for national health care, which, yes, it's true, but they also want to fund illegal alien health care. And I'm not sure, given the military community in the state, that he's going to not be in an even more defensive position by the time we get to the general.
Yeah, look, I think that there's certainly, the longer this goes, the higher the likelihood that this hangs around John Ossoff's neck. People are going to be looking around, at this Senate race and this dynamic, looking at the House, Eric, right? All of the Republicans in the state, in our congressional delegation, voted for a clean CR, voted to fund the government, and gave it to the Senate, and where you had 44 Democrats, including our own Senator John Ossoff, hijack the government's funding to fund health care for illegal immigrants and to to stop funding the hundreds of thousands of veterans and their benefits across the state. That's a big issue for him. He is taking a number of risks. He's rolling the dice, I think, with his electoral chances. It's a strategy that he's done in terms of voting for, allowing boys and girls sports, voting against funding for military aid to Israel and standing with Israel. He's rolled the dice and sided with progressives a number of times. I just have to think the longer it goes on and the longer he continues that strategy, the dicier his reelection chances are going to get.
Yeah, and he's already got issues with a number of Democrats in the state. I always find it funny that Republicans of the state say how much easier time it is they have to work with Raphael Warnock. They may not like him politically, but they like him personally. They like his staff, and fair or not, Ossoff is actually a pretty introverted person. He's got to force himself to get out there. He's just not the energetic guy on the campaign trail that probably can withstand the force of a united front. Of course, the Republicans got to get through Collins, Dooley, and Carter before they can even get to him. And that could turn into an expensive affair headed into the general.
Yeah, it could. I mean, I think there's a lot of variables in the Republican primary to challenge John Ossoff. I would say right now, I think based on the movement and the vibe on the ground, some of the polling that we've seen, I think Mike Collins probably has the upper hand. But at the same time, these fundraising reports, obviously yesterday was the end of the third quarter, are going to be very telling about the momentum in that race. You've got somebody in Derek Dooley, this outsider who has been backed by our governor, which is who is hugely popular, as you know. That is going to be an asset for him. I do think politically, I think it's going to be interesting to see, did he benefit in terms of the fundraising side from that support from the governor? I think if he does, and I think there are a lot of people that think that he will, that could be a huge boost for him. And then you've got someone in Congressman Carter who has self-financed his own campaign, who has put a lot of resources in. And as a result, we've seen some of his polling numbers creep up as well. So lots at stake. I think those Q3 fundraising reports will be very telling. But at the end of the day, I think that each of them has such a different and dynamic story to tell than the one that John Ossoff is telling, which is basically that I'm California's third senator. And I don't think that's going to sell in Georgia.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Stephen Lawson, always a pleasure to see you. Thanks for coming in with me.
Thanks for being here, Eric.